the woman behind the game-changing book, The Anti-Ableist Manifesto, Tiffany Yu. She's grown a community of over 5 million people, and she joins us today on Driven by Purpose.
This is Driven by Purpose, a show about finding your purpose, building fulfilling careers, and helping people with disabilities live better lives. Hosted by 3 men who've lived it and are here to help you do the same. Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Clean Logic, a leading bath and skincare company and a true pioneer in creating inclusive workplaces and increasing employment opportunities for people with disabilities.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Driven by Purpose. My name is Evan Rosenbaum, along with the co-founder of Clean Logic and the Inspiration Foundation, Isaac Shapiro. Isaac, what's going on, man?
Hello. Good to have Tiffany on. I'm excited to have her here today.
Yeah, I was going to say, if it sounds like I got a lot of energy today, it's because we have an amazing guest, a person who has been a massive champion in this community, somebody who is a best-selling author, somebody who is one of the editor's picks of Amazon and the Library Journal. She's amassed over 5 million views on social media. The Anti-Ableist Manifesto. Welcome, Tiffany Yu, to Driven by Purpose. Welcome to the show.
Tiffany.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for bringing all the energy.
Man, I love it. It's what I do. First off, thank you so much for being here. I know you are tremendously busy doing all sorts of work around the community. We have so many mutual friends, actually. Your name has been mentioned all over the place because you are always so busy doing so much work. And thank you for spending the time talking to us for a little bit here. We really, really appreciate it. So my first question, just to kind of level set for everybody, you have written this book, the Anti-Ableist Manifesto, which it's such a massively important book in this community. It tells your story, how you got into this world, your backstory, the story of your family, all that stuff. So I just kind of want to give you the stage and just kind of let you set the table for our audience. Just kind of explain your story if you don't mind.
Of course. So I come into this based off of my own personal lived experience. At the age of 9, I was involved in a car accident where my dad was driving. He unfortunately passed away. And I acquired a handful of injuries and disabilities, including permanently paralyzing one of my arms. I broke a couple bones in one of my legs, so I was a temporary wheelchair user for about 4 months. And much later, I'd be diagnosed with PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a type of mental health disability.
Yeah.
And for the 10 plus years after the car accident, I didn't really tell anyone about it. I'm the daughter of Asian immigrants. And so I think I had internalized a lot around what it meant to exist in a disabled body, what death in your immediate family meant. And in my family's cultural background, death means that somewhere in your ancestral lineage, there's bad luck. So out of fear of not wanting to spread your bad luck off onto other people, you don't really share the things that people might think make you bad luck. So we told everyone my dad was away on a trip. I would wear long sleeves year round. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. Summers in D.C., very hot. I'm in L.A. now, also very hot.
Yeah.
Would probably still be trying to wear long sleeves then. And then I didn't tell anyone about the car accident. And I think there was a turning point my final year in university where I think I was just having a hard time keeping track of all of these lies or all of the other stories or the other stories other people had written for me, where I started to explore what it would look like to find my own voice. And that was the beginning of Diversability, which essentially is a disability-centered community focused on empowering our community members to go on what we call the shame to pride transformation around a disability identity.
Right.
And then I guess the latest project, or one of the latest projects, is what became the Anti-Ableist Manifesto, which is how can I put everything I've learned into a book, but also for everyone who's coming to me asking, how can I show up better for the disability community? I don't know how to start. This book hopefully can be that guide or part of a broader suite of resources that you have in your own allyship journey.
Yeah, my story is, I have a daughter who's about to turn 11 years old, and she has a severe disability. And she was born at 25 weeks. She has severe cerebral palsy, bilateral PVL, which is brain damage. She's now a non-speaking person. She uses a device to talk. She's in a wheelchair. On paper, it looks very bad. She presents amazing. She's an incredible person, but we deal with a lot of people who make judgments based on the way that she presents. We deal with a lot of people who assume certain things based on, when they see a report about her that she's going to be a certain way. They talk to her a certain way because they think that, her brain doesn't work because, she appears to be so disabled. We deal with a lot of stuff in our daily life multiple times a day, every single day. And it's not that people have, I don't think that people have ill intentions all the time. I think that people are very confused and they need to be educated. And I think that what you are doing is helping to take the burden off of families like ours. Because where I struggle sometimes is there is we call it a pilot light for me, where it's I understand that sometimes when there are microaggressions or macroaggressions, it's not intentional, but it still sends that pilot light up. And I'm trying to figure out why does the burden always feel like it's on me to kind of educate you about how to treat my daughter or our family? And with your book, the Anti-Ableist Manifesto, it feels like you are setting, you're telling people how to approach the world differently than you already are. And number one, thank you, because I want more allies and more. It's we had a situation at Target the other day where a person came up to us and started talking to me and my daughter like she was a baby, and she's not. She's an 11-year-old girl. And again, it was I felt like it was you don't want to be mean to them because you don't, it's not worth the argument. But I'm curious for you, I'm sure you get told these stories from families like ours all of the time. What's the question I'm trying to ask here? Have you seen a change from the time that you wrote this book to now? Do you see society developing in a better way? And where do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, first, I just want to share that, for far too long, the burden has been on us. Even as we're recording this during Disability Pride Month to commemorate the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, a big shortcoming of this amazing piece of landmark legislation is that the burden is on us to exercise our rights, right? And interestingly enough, I remember grabbing coffee with another disabled friend who had read my book. And he goes, Tiffany, he's loved the book. But one thing I was really curious about was, how come you don't put more of the onus on disabled people? The book is telling allies to really step up. And what I told him was that I have blind friends who have multiple master's degrees and a PhD and still can't get a job, right? Exactly what you shared with me is we can up-level ourselves as much as possible. I'm excited to see who your daughter becomes as an adult. And hopefully she gets to meet us and so many of us. We talk so much about how we feel like there is a lot more support for disabled kids, but we forget that disabled kids become disabled adults.
That's
and
right.
Have to learn how to, you are your daughter's best advocate right now. And how do you equip her to become that as she moves into the next chapters of her life? So I just wanted to acknowledge kind of what you were saying. And I think that you can see the distinction between what you're experiencing every day, what I experience every day. I had shared with some of your team members that I just got surgery recently, and now I have an even more visible marker of my disability, and so many questions, so many intrusive questions, and I'm still getting used to that, right? And in some ways, we talk about microaggressions and interrupting them and how important it is to interrupt them because they become macro to us.
Right.
The number of times
Right.
the number of times you probably experience or I experience someone coming to me saying what happened or, oh my gosh, that ends up adding up. So that's why I want to appreciate that you saw the distinction in the book. Now, to your question around have I seen a change since the book coming out 2 years ago? I have been disabled for 28 years, and I've been active as an advocate for 17 of those. And in 2009, I remember when we were starting Georgetown University's first ever disability student club, which then became known as Diversability. And a number of people who would come to me who would say, I don't understand how a disabled person can be proud of who they are. Now in 2026, I still see some of that commentary, but not as much as I did 15 plus years ago. The fact that I can have a book out that is bright orange that says the Anti-Ableist Manifesto in huge block letters and have it published by a very large publishing house, Hachette, is a big deal.
It
And
is
so
a big deal.
I want to say that I believe that we are on the cusp, if we're not already in it, of a cultural shift around disability, where yes, you have Tiffany Yu's book, you have Molly Burke with a book, you have Lachi with a book, Galen Leah with a book. So many friends I can name in the disability community who have books out where maybe 10 years ago that would not have been the case because perhaps the publishers and the editors there and the literary agents did not think that our stories were marketable or relatable. Now, I also want to share Marissa Bodie in Wicked, right? Like even on the entertainment and then the Judy Heumann film coming out later this year, like there's so much more media that is shaping the narrative and providing so many more diverse narratives around what disability looks like. So are we still going to get the what happened, what's wrong with you questions, the infantilization, the patronization? Yes, but I'm hoping less more so, and that more bystanders will step in and be like, hey, that's not cool. Or you may have habituated yourself to even just say like, you can just ask that question to her, and things like that. So part of it is it's on all of us. Yes. The book is very much framed through the lens of how can we bring more people into this so that we don't have to feel so exhausted having to advocate for ourselves all the time.
That's amazing. And I think you're just a great storyteller already. And I can just tell you're out there. But I think it's so important because so many people, like I go back to what you said, you didn't talk about it. You try to do everything you can to not talk about it. So can you tell us a little bit about that first moment you told your story to people? And then how did that moment influence what you're doing today? Because I know you're talking about the book, you're doing this, but I always think there's that one moment that just, I'm done with this. So can you get a little bit deeper in that?
Yeah. So I remember the day. It was October 22nd, 2009. And the car accident was in 1997. And I had been, but what's interesting about that was that there were a couple more moments that happened right before then. So I studied finance and accounting when I was in college. This is a part of my background that I got to shine a light on in the book, but a lot of people who meet me for the first time don't really know that about me. And so I did this summer internship at Goldman Sachs. And while I was there, I got introduced to all of these different employee resource groups that they had. They had one for Asian employees, for women, and they also had one for disabled employees and our allies. And that was actually my first disability community at Goldman Sachs.
Wow.
And I bring that up because if a company like Goldman has a disability community, how come we don't have this everywhere? And so that was kind of the first seed that was planted. Then the next thing that happened was right around the time I was getting ready to graduate, the Sichuan earthquake had just happened in China. And a lot of students who previously did not have disabilities actually became physically disabled as a result of this earthquake. Now, I bring that up because I had studied abroad in China. I actually minored in Chinese and Asian studies. Don't get to talk about that either. But one of the things that was really interesting in my own research was that there was something in, if you were a student in China and you wanted to pursue your education, you had to be physically, mentally, and emotionally well. Like I remember seeing that. And then I was like, okay, if you were a student who became physically disabled as a result of this earthquake, what does that mean for your educational outcomes? So even the fact that I mentioned Sichuan earthquake, I know probably was already like, okay, we're not going to. And so I bring that up because I decided to apply for a Fulbright.
Right.
Now I want to share that I know a lot of the the commentary and the coverage around that was, was kind of brushed away. So
Yeah.
I also knew it was controversial. But you had to get so many letters of recommendation, both in country, both from your university, to really carry your nomination forward. And that was the first time that I had ever written about why I felt like I was the best person to pursue this research. I was someone who had acquired a physical disability. I grew up in the U.S., which also meant I did not feel inhibited in terms of my own pathways to education. And when one of my recommenders read that, he goes, "Tiffany, when you told me that this is what you wanted to research, he was like, I was not ready to, endorse you. But then I read your personal statement. Again, that was the first time I had written about leveraging my disability lived experience. And he said, I think you're the best person to do this. And he ended up signing off on my
Amazing.
proposal. Now,
Amazing.
I didn't get the Fulbright, but that's okay. There's still
That's all
time.
right. That's right.
But that was also the first
Hashtag
time.
goals.
Hashtag
Yeah.
but that was also the first time. I guess I want to say those two experiences, and then there was a third one. But those two experiences were like, okay, I found my first disability community where I'm not the only in a space.
Right.
Then it's, wow, I can actually lean into the fact that I have expertise that can really help me connect with this research opportunity. And then the third was kind of a diversity training that I had been a part of, where it made me realize that if you don't have a disability or aren't affected by it, you really don't think about it. And that's essentially what privilege is. And I love this quote. I think I did include it in the book, but I was like, privilege is like air. Until you don't realize you have it until you don't have
That's
it.
right.
That's
That's right.
And so fast forward to October 22nd, 2009, like those three moments, those all happened within a month of each other. And now in my late 30s, I call these gentle nudges from the universe. I don't know what a 21-year-old would have thought those were, but it really started to get me curious about what it might look like if I were to start my own disability community at Georgetown. Now, what I did was I reached out to two other disabled students that I knew. I didn't hear from them. I call that strike number one. Number two was I told one of my supervisors, I was a resident assistant at the time. I told my staff supervisor, and one of the other staff members was super passionate about disability studies. So I met with her and she goes, "Tiffany, I love your passion. I love what you're trying to do, but the idea is too radical." And so then I was like, okay, that's strike number two. And then October 22nd, 2009, I was like, this is going to be my strike number three. So I was invited to speak on this panel. People are always curious why you're so passionate about a topic. So I shared the story of the car accident for the first time publicly. Now, I still remember what it felt like. You're holding back tears. There's so much pain there. You're being seen for the first time in something that you had hidden away for over a decade. You're saying, I acknowledge that this is real. I recently started another initiative in honor of my dad, and I was talking to my therapist about how I can't talk about the origin story of it without getting emotional.
Yeah.
Because I think about those 10 years where I told everyone he was away on a trip. And now this is how I want to carry forward his legacy. I want people to know who he is. So October 22nd, to me, that was going to be the third strike. And at the end of the panel, I remember saying, I had this idea to start this disability student club, but I don't think it's going to happen. And a bunch of students and faculty and administrators ended up saying, I'll be a part of your club. And we all
That's awesome.
essentially became the beginning of, we called ourselves the Diversibility Working Group, but that was the beginning. But yeah, it didn't feel like, what did you call it, Evan? Like a dam?
Oh, it's like the breaking of the dam moment.
The breaking
It's
of the dam. Even if I think about the imagery of the breaking of the dam, I don't feel like my dam broke until within the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Where I just felt like, the coolest thing that I'm a part of right now is I get to go to a lot of the FIFA World Cup games
That's awesome.
because I'm on the Accessibility Advisory Board.
Amazing.
And this is, again, your lived experience coming in. And my friend who works at FIFA, like she used to help run accessibility for the Oscars, like large events accessibility. she's the one who put my name forward, and she's blind. Shout out to Natalie. But like, I just think about the power of community, the ways we are a generative force for each other, saying our names in rooms that we're not in, and now get to be part of a huge cultural moment.
So, Tiffany, great transition, because I think a lot of businesses and places get, they only get talked about sometimes when it's bad, and they don't get the flowers when they're doing a great job. And so one of the places that I want to shout out and I want to talk to you about, because I know that you're out there in the community a lot. And so I want to spotlight a couple places that have been doing a great job when it comes to doing the right things when it comes to accessibility. We had a great experience at Disneyland recently. I was shocked because I was not expecting it to be as positive as it was, especially when it came to the bathrooms. Like my daughter, we need, a changing table and stuff like that. And I was not expecting that because we had a recent experience at UCLA and we had to use the bathroom there, and it was awful. And it was like there wasn't a changing table, and we were on the floor, and it was horrible. It was a whole story for another day. But when we went to Disneyland, I was expecting, I didn't know what I was expecting, but nothing great. And it was a fantastic experience, and they went above and beyond. And I can't praise them enough for everything was accessible. They couldn't have been more helpful. And I'm curious, are there a couple businesses or places that come to mind that you think are doing an exceptional job and are really setting the standard for accessibility?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will say there's a company called Tilt Beauty, much smaller company, but they make beauty products, makeup, that are accessible for people who have dexterity-related disabilities. And they've won tons of not only design awards, but in addition to that, people who don't have dexterity disabilities love their products too. And so that's one. And then, I know Walmart has been taking on a lot of initiatives more recently around sensory-friendly hours in the morning, and trying to get more involved in the community too. And then, a lot of people name Microsoft. I know that they have been doing a lot around, it's actually cool. Like if you are doing a PowerPoint presentation, there's an option where you can just turn on captions so that as you present, your captions are just showing up on the slide. Which is pretty cool. So irrespective of whatever video platform you're using, you are able to do that. And yeah, so I think maybe those are a couple. Of course, I want to shout out the FIFA World Cup.
Yeah.
So part of the reason why we get to attend the different matches is we're there for match observation. So we are taking a look at if you are a wheelchair user, is it very clear where you check in? Are you able to switch your ticket for an accessible one and stay with your companion or your friend? If you are blind, you can download an app that will provide you audio description of the game so you can enjoy it. And I believe in that same app as well, you can also open the ASL interpretation as well and have it on your device as you watch the game. And every single stadium, I believe, also has a sensory-friendly space as well. So, but that one is a little bit selfish because our advisory board really helped to kind of think through all of those.
But that's not selfish. That's smart. Because what it's honestly, in all seriousness, that's what they should be doing. They should be tapping people in the community to say, hey, what can we be doing to make this the best experience for people with disabilities as possible? And that's what they seem to be doing, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why I think it's interesting too, where you are gushing about this experience that you have at Disneyland, because our expectations are so low as to what is going to be provided for us. I would love for us as the disability community or the people who love us to get to a point where that becomes the expectation.
Right.
Where it is totally unacceptable for your daughter to not have access to the bathroom in the way that she needs it. Right. So yeah, I think part of it is the more that we become more visible, the more that we can be part of these cultural moments that are happening too. I think that will help create part of the change that I think we all dream of. And our hope is, one of the things we talked about as part of the accessibility advisory board is we don't just want our work to end here. What's the legacy that can be carried forward to
100%.
World Cup games in the future? Or other, I live in Los Angeles, other big events that are coming to LA very soon. And next year we
That's
have
right.
a big event. 2 years we have a big event.
100%. Tiffany, I look at you. I write about how I want to make I want to raise an army of allies to help, and I look at you as you're on the front lines, leading the charge. So I know we're running out of time, but I just want to say again, thank you so much. Can you tell the people how to find you and how to get your book?
Best way to find me is my website, tiffanyyu.com. It's just my first and last name.com. While you're there, you'll see links to follow me across social, and then you'll also see a link to the book where you can figure out where you can get it at your favorite book retailer, or you can check it out from your local library.
Appreciate you so much. Thank you so much again. Be a part of this community. Remember to like, subscribe, follow, tell a friend to tell a friend, tell a friend. That's how we grow this thing, everybody. Driven by purpose. Isaac, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Tiffany, just amazing work. And I just can't wait to see where this goes. Because like you said, the tipping point, we're starting to see people really changing their perception. And it's amazing that you're working with a lot of these events. We're normalizing it. And I just really appreciate your work and putting your story out there, because it is hard and you make it seem so easy, but you're just keep it moving. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen in 10 years with what you're doing. So
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Driven by purpose. See ya.